So it's my role to inspire you and telling you that I believe it's possible. I have a background in agriculture and climate. I worked in several organizations, food company representatives, but also environmental NGOs. And for instance, I worked at the fair price for milk in the Netherlands. So dairy farmers are paid 5 cents per liter extra to enable them to work in a sustainable way. So I know farmers need more money to realize ambitious climate and environmental goals. So this is successful, and I believe that an agri-ETS system can help farmers to deliver it. So, and yeah, does it work? Yeah, that's great. Yeah, it works. Oh, sorry. This is going too fast. Yeah. So first on my organization, a bit words. So now we have 80 partners, some NGOs, but also some food companies, different farmer organizations in the Netherlands as well. And we are represented in 10 countries in the EU. And we have some partners who also represent a lot of companies like Ecopreneur. We advocate for a true price on meat and dairy, basically, that those prices can go up, but it can be also an advantage for farmers if they get more money from consumers and food companies. But it will also help the climate, because if we make meat and dairy a little bit more expensive, then we will eat less, and this has a positive impact on the climate, but it also generates money to pay farmers to help them reducing emissions. So in two ways it can be an advantage. So yeah, we are active on different levels in the Netherlands, in the EU, at global level. But now we go to the next one. Yeah, so today we're here because of the climate goals for agriculture and food. This is a common challenge, and as you may know, 80% of the EU food consumption is linked to meat and dairy. So this could be a reason to also focus ETS systems on dairy and food companies, but it could be also a reason that all food companies could be included in a potential new ETS. So the emissions from the agriculture sector the last 15 years did not reduce very much, only 5%. And as you see, according to the some science and expectations, so that the emissions will be reduced in the future only a little bit if you see so what is already committed to and what is new policies. So we need new policies to help to go to the direction of climate neutrality, net zero. And that's why some new studies are done on the potential of ETS. So there is no pricing mechanism in the agriculture and food sector. In 2027, all economic sectors in Europe will have a pricing system in ETS. So it's ETS 1 or ETS 2. But so the agriculture and food sector, the last sectors without pricing. So it makes sense that in the future, after 2030, this sector is also included. And we all know that ETS is really effective, and it's really doing what it's expected to. And so it's also a bit unfair towards other sectors. That's also the reason why in Denmark there was a lot of pressure on the agriculture sector. You don't have to lag behind. We also need you to reduce emissions, because when other sectors go really towards 0% emission reduction and agriculture stays the same, then the relative share of the agriculture and food sector is growing every year. So it's not really fair that this is not targeted, and it's also not efficient, and because it can be quite cheap also to change some things. So we need more action, and it's also global chefsache. So Ursula von der Leyen and Rob Hoekstra, they're always telling other countries in the world, yes, we have an ETS, it's really working, you should have it too. And And Bob Hoekstra also said in his hearings that it should be for all sectors in Europe. And the ETS systems, they really work at global level, not in all countries, but the blue ones are the ETS systems that are in place already. The red ones are carbon pricing systems, so it can be also taxes, but they work. Not for agriculture, but for energy and industry. And this is what the EU Commission presented last year. This is the 2040 climate goals sheet. You see the yellow color, that is agriculture, and you see that it should go down too, but it's not really reducing a bit, and it's compensated by removals. But it should go down also a little bit, of course, as also the Bart told from Nestlé, that it's possible to reduce emissions in the food sector too. And another good reason to have an ETS is because we also have competition goals. You know, the Draghi report, and combining this with the climate goals means that an ETS system could really combine both goals. Because an ETS is a market-based system, it works at lowest cost, so companies can decide themselves what they will do to reduce the emissions. There's a price incentive, and every year the price incentive will be larger because there's a cap with going down every year. So, but the companies decide themselves, and there's not any government telling them to do how to do it, which is most in the times it's more expensive compared to when they decide themselves. So why do we need it? So I told you cost and benefits are important, and cost effectiveness, efficiency, transparency. It's also good for investors, because when you have this ETS system, it's for 20 or 30 years, so it's reliable, predictable. You know that you will realize the goals because it's designed to go down every year. So every year the emission cap will go down with like 4% per year. So everybody knows they can make investment decisions because they know if they do not change, they will have to pay for the emission credits. And it also delivers revenue for the governments, and they can use these revenues to pay farmers to help them and subsidize them to make it easier for them to reduce the emissions. So this is how it could look like. So if it would start in 2030, so for instance, if it would be a system for dairy companies and slaughterhouses, this is the scenario that was also included in the report commissioned by the EU Commission from Trinomics, and with most support from stakeholders in the EU. If it would be like this, then they have a ceiling, of emission ceiling in 2030 of 245 megaton, and every year it will go down, for instance, with 4%. And then you can have an 80% emission reduction by 2050. So this is how it could work. Maybe it will be another decision, it will be maybe another ceiling emission goal, but this is how it could work. And it's similar to ETS too, so the emission trading scheme for transport and buildings. As far as I know, this is an annual linear reduction factor of 5.1. So for the agriculture, it's even less compared to other sectors. So it's not too over-ambitious, it's just what is possible. It's ambitious, I know, but it can be, it could be. And there are a lot of mitigation technologies, what could be used by food companies, but also of course by the farmers. You can see here at the left side some different options. And I used this picture from a report of Agora Agrar. They presented it last week here in Brussels. And they made a report which also showing what emission reductions in the agriculture and land use sector could look like. So in 2045, if there would be 60% emission reduction, it could be used by peatland rewetting. which is a relative cheap option. It needs subsidies for the farmers, but yes, then you can realize a lot of emission reduction. But there's also in fertilization and livestock mitigation technologies, but also livestock reduction. According to them, this is what is needed also for other goals, because they also look to health, EU health policies and environmental policies, not only the climate policies. But by reducing livestock, you will have a lot of land use area made available, which is not needed anymore for animal feed and can be used for mass production, replacing fossil fuels. And it can be used by reforestation. And in Denmark, 10% of the agricultural land will be used for reforestation for forests. And at EU level, this is also needed. So you can see that here there will be more forest land. It's only 2% at EU level, but and some other land changes. So this is how it could work. And then you can, if you do this, then you will realize the EU climate goals, according to this report. And ETS can help to work towards those impacts. So why do we need it? It's a flexible way. You can reduce climate targets at lowest cost possible. It will boost a lot of innovation, clean agriculture tech, bioenergy, plant-based proteins, of course. Companies can also sell excess allowance. So if companies did invest a lot in greenhouse gas emission reductions, then it will not cost them money. They can sell it to other companies who grow or have other reasons to buy it. So half of the companies, they will net benefit. Maybe Nestlé will benefit because they do a lot on emission reductions, but maybe some others will have to do more. And it will also protect farmers against cheap imports from meat and dairy from countries outside the EU if you have a CBAM import tax on meat and dairy. So it's, yeah, and this will also be fair, and I think this is also what farmers expect from the EU Commission to protect them against cheap imports. More benefits, it's encouraging healthier, sustainable diets. It will also support climate neutral practices. It's lower cost compared to obligatory climate standards. That's what I expect, but I think most scientists will tell you. And there will be also less political and farmer opposition if you choose for a downstream ETS. It will not be the farmers who have to be part of the ETS, but the food companies. And of course, the food companies, if they want to reduce the emissions according to this ETS, they will need to pay farmers more money, otherwise the farmers cannot reduce the emissions. So this is the incentive. I think it will work, it will benefit farmers. They will get a higher price for milk and meat, otherwise they cannot invest in those new technologies. And otherwise the food companies are out of business because the farmers will go bankrupt. So they will have to pay the farmers more. So that is why I believe in this policy instrument. So our proposals are first, of course, a carbon reduction target for 2040 for the sector. It's not yet decided, but of course we need it. It should combine the cap reform subsidies, of course, and payments for carbon farming. We would also need policies for peat soils, and what is also really important, fair pricing for farmers, that with a below cost price. So a farmer needs to have a fair price. So maybe legislative proposals to help them, and that would be important, food, public procurement, etc. VAT reform on food prices can also be very helpful. A zero VAT rate on vegetables and fruits, and plant-based meat and dairy, and a higher VAT rate on meat and dairy can also help national governments to realize their own climate goals and their health goals. So, and the revenue from an agriculture ETS system can be used to reward farmers, but it can be also used to compensate low-income groups, because in the end, meat and dairy will be a little bit more expensive if you introduce an ETS. And so, similar to the ETS1, governments can use ETS revenues to compensate low-income groups. And so yeah, this can be also done towards consumers in the EU. And another discussion is now at international level, the low-income countries also ask from rich countries like the EU, you should also compensate me, because the emissions from your food systems cost 20% of global greenhouse gas emissions, and they also lead to damage in our countries, for instance in Africa. So they also want money from the EU. So an ETS system could be used also to compensate them. Focusing on slaughterhouses and dairy factories, it could be also all food companies, but now we say this proposal, so this is how it can look like, and we propose to exclude meat and dairy from organic farms. Why do we do so? Because we expect it could have a negative impact on those companies if they also have to reduce emissions in this way. We don't know if this will benefit organic dairy and meat, and we know the EU has a goal for more organic farms, so if we exclude it, it will be also an incentive for the farmers and the food companies to have more organic farmers, because they will be not in the system. So it maybe it can work this way. ETS systems and pricing carbon in agricultural food systems is supported by a lot of organizations. IPPC mentioned it in the last report. FAO mentioned it in the last SOFA 2024 report. The EU Climate Board mentioned it as really important. Otherwise, they don't believe the goals can be met forever. There was a public consultation by the EU Commission in 2023, and 55% that supported agri-food carbon pricing, and of this group, also the downstream agri-ETS option was supported most. So there was 40% of them who supported this specific version, and only 6% opposed to this downstream. So I heard also, for instance, the Young Farmers Organization they said if we will choose for an agri-ETS, then this downstream option would be best. So, there was also a letter sent to Ursula von der Leyen at the EU Commission last year, signed by a lot of organizations, also youth organizations, companies, and also the European Alliance for Plant-Based Food, and so a lot of support is there already for the downstream option. And there was this strategic dialogue on agri-ETS, and they didn't say, yes, we love ETS, but they said, we are looking forward to the EU Commission to assessment so that we know what could be the impact. And they said, yeah, we have there are some concerns, but if those concerns are taken into account, so then maybe it could be a system. We need some action, so it could be, but we need some guarantees that it's not, it's done in the right way. And we believe that our proposals can fully, check all the boxes mentioned in the strategic dialogue. But to be honest, and there are some concerns, of course. So some people are concerned about biodiversity, but cap payments will be directed more towards nature and ecosystem services. So this could be maybe the action to counter it. Animal welfare, yes, but you can also have legislations that there is a minimum standard for animal welfare. Small organic farms could be excluded from the system. Some people say it's too late, it's 2030 and we need action now, but well, this ETS, it needs, similar to Denmark, you need time to prepare, first make the benchmark and the monitoring, verification, include framework, and then you can implement it, but you have to start this. And we have to learn from previous ETS systems, so no free allowances in the start, like ETS 1, then the system doesn't work, then it's only administrative burden and then it doesn't work. So you need first that companies pay for the allowances, and then you also get more money into the system that you can give to farmers. The cap should be ambitious, not too lax, otherwise it doesn't work. And do we need a standalone system like ETS 3, or do we have an ETS system for agriculture and food that is integrated in the existing ETS 1 or 2? So that's a question. I don't have the answer for it, but there are both pros and cons. But most persons say it should be a separate one, but the risk could be that it starts new again and we make the same mistakes like we did with ETS 1, and there's some politics made and then it doesn't work, it's not too ambitious enough. So, but I think a separate one could maybe the best, but there are some different views on it. So this is the end of my slide. So we need good targets, so we need carbon pricing, we need incentives for farmers and consumers, and you can look on our website if you want more information. So thank you, and apologies for my long speech.